Well, bar girls. For the first time ever, I'm actually going to reconstitute a 2-year-old video with the same title and the same information. I've been bombarded recently for some reason with emails and private messages with guys that have been telling me their sob stories about what happened when they met the proverbial bar girl. I was going to redo an entire new video. When I looked at the old one, though, from 2 years ago, I decided I wouldn't change a word. I think that everything that applied back then applies today. So hopefully, if you haven't seen the video before, you'll enjoy this one today as much as you seemed to enjoy it 2 years ago. All right, here it comes. Tubers, tubettes, and of course my favorite group, the Crazy People. Well, the title of this video, as you can see, is Bar Girls. Now, I'm not going to be talking about what I think comes automatically into our heads when we hear that phrase, bar girl. I'm going to touch on that subject a little bit, but then I'm going to move on to two other sections, or two other categories, rather, of what I consider to be bar girls, and the positives and the negatives. I'm also going to venture out and probably irritate some people, and I'm going to mention what I think are three different red flags or warning shots that would come across my bow if I noticed these traits or characteristics in a female. And then at the very last, I am going to tell you about what I have found, or what I have heard has worked and seen with my own eyes has worked, the most effective, low-key, low-maintenance way to meet a woman that you would pick out of a crowd, and how to meet her, how to get to know her, and how to take pressure off of both you and her. Got to tell you right now, it wasn't my idea, but it's what I've seen and observed other people do. Okay, here comes the video. Bar girls. Okay, I'm going to put them into three categories for us. The first one almost doesn't need mentioning because it's so obvious, but I'd be remiss if I didn't put it in. And that is the walking street scenario. Any town, USA, or here in Southeast Asia, there's an area where there's maybe bars, nightclubs, discos, whatever you want to call them, the red light district. And the girls are out in front, they're scantily clad, some are wearing uniforms. Any guy that walks by, doesn't matter his age, his size, if he's fat, ugly, handsome, whatever, they're calling them over, buy me a drink, do this, do that, and it's purely transactional. It's the world's oldest profession. In many ways, I find that to be almost the most honest, the most open and candid. Everybody knows what this is all about. There's no mystery behind it. Now, there have been stories about guys that have taken the aforementioned woman to their place or their home and managed to fall in love with them and try to marry them or enter into a long-term relationship. And I think you and I both know where 95% of those relationships end up. And so there's no point in belaboring that. We could go into that one for hours. But I want to talk about the other two types of what I perceive to be bar girls. The first one is the woman at the bars here in Dumaguete that work as bartenders slash servers. They usually have a dual role. And any good bartender, be it here or in your home country, a good bartender will always make a customer that sits down feel welcomed. They'll chat them up a little bit. They'll say hi. If they're really good, they'll get to know their name. If they don't know them or have never seen them before, they'll ask them, hey, what's your name? Thanks for coming by. What are you drinking? And the guy wants his beer or his rum and coke or whatever, and they're sure, I'll be happy to get that for you. And maybe they'll sit and chat him up for 2 or 3 minutes, and make him feel welcome and comfortable. That's a good bartender. I'm not saying they're all like that out here. Sometimes it's hard to get their attention, but I digress. Anyway, what I would say 50% of the women that work here in that situation, that scenario, are just that. They're working at the bar. They're serving food. They're working for tips. They're serving drinks. They're married. They're in a relationship. They're not interested, or they're not interested in men, or whatever. They've got kids. They don't want any part of it. They don't like foreigners. They just work in there, and they're making a living. But I can't say that about the other 50%. To me, and these are round numbers, but I would say that the other half of women that work in these bars are using the job as more of a means to an end than just for the sole income that is derived by working there. They want to meet a foreigner. What better place to go if you want to meet a foreigner and you're a woman than a place that foreigners frequent? Well, an American or a British or an Australian themed resto bar. That's where you want to work. Now they're going to do what good bartenders do. They're going to know your name. They're going to make you feel welcome. They're going to know what you drink. And then they have a technique, because it's really, in most cases, not their first rodeo, or their first foreigner for that matter, and they are now going to give you a little extra attention. And especially if they see signals from you that you may be interested, or that you may be vulnerable, you may be lonely. I don't want to say that you're a mark, but that's a little heavy. But you get my drift. They are there because they have, in many cases, already been with a foreigner, and they are now suddenly single. Either they dropped the foreigner dropped them, the foreigner died. You can come up with 100 different scenarios as to why they're no longer together. But this woman has decided that she is going to not go back to a Filipino. She's going to stick with the foreigner. She enjoys the lifestyle that they can provide. And so they're going to work the deal. Again, on the surface, really nothing wrong with that. There are women, however, that are doing that. However, it gets a little uglier as you get into more of her personal life. And I would say this is maybe 10% of the 50 that do this. These are women that have a relationship with a Filipino. They have kids, Filipino, I should say. They are living with the guy. They're married to the guy, or it's their partner. And yet, and it never ceases to amaze me, the guy seems to be okay with this. They are there under the pretensions that they are, their pretension that they are single and available and interested, when in reality, all they want to do is get you on the hook and then see how much money they can drain out of you. And they'll use any means possible. They can be gone from home for 2 or 3 days at a time, and they're texting and they're keeping their significant other up to date. And it's still hard for me to believe, but I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, so I know it happens. This guy's okay with it, as long as she brings home the proverbial bacon, because he's out of work, or he's watching the kids, or he's lazy, or he's drunk, or whatever the scenario is. And this is where guys get led down the golden path. It happened to me. I was introduced to a woman. She was supposedly single. She told me she had a couple of kids, and I said, that's fine. We can hang out. Saw her for 10 days, 2 weeks, and somebody told me, you know, she's seen other foreigners, and she's got a Filipino boyfriend. And I didn't want to believe it, because I was being a guy, and it was there, but I didn't want to see it. It wasn't what I wanted to hear, so I didn't believe it. And then I did find out with my own two eyes that that was indeed the case. I got lucky because it only went on for 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, before I finally got the lowdown on the hoedown and called it quits, moved on with my day, chalked it up as a learning experience, and there you go, yippee-ki-yay. But there are gentlemen that I know that have gone full in within that first 10 days or 2 weeks. Hell, they've bought her a car, they've taken her shopping for clothes. She's told them that she's got kids, and so now he's inking up for clothes for the kids or diapers or whatever other story. She's got a sick grandmother, and the next thing you know, this guy's wallet is just getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and it's all based on a lie. And so that is something that if I was to go back in time, and I don't like to give advice, I'm not trying to give advice, but my observations are, especially if you're new here, that to have your guard up. There are some little signs that you can play into. You need to slow play it a little bit. That's what I learned. Fools rush in. I was a fool. I rushed in. I got a bad result, but I felt I was fortunate that I didn't get my wallet drained at the same time. That was being started. I picked up on it. I got the real information and was able to curtail it right then and there. So that is one of the scenarios. The third bar girl that I'm going to talk about is not the girl that's at Walking Street. She's not the girl behind the bar. She's the girl that usually comes in with a couple of other girls and just sits at the bar. She's not working, she's fishing. She too is usually been in a relationship with a foreigner, and she grew accustomed to that lifestyle. However, just like the bartender, she's no longer in that relationship, and she is there on a hunting expedition. She too is going where the foreigners go. So I can't blame them if they're sincere and loving and really want to meet somebody. But it's been my observation, and from stories that I've been told by other guys, things that I've witnessed with my own eyes, that these are like professional girlfriends. And usually the relationship lasts from anywhere from 1 month to 6 months. And guess what? The guy finally finds out that this is turning into just a black hole. She was great in the beginning, but then as time wore on, her true personality, her true motives, her true ultimatums are becoming apparent to the man. And he's like, this has got to end, hopefully, before he commits to something strong like marriage. There are red flags or warning shots that I've noticed and picked up on that I can spot on a woman of that caliber. And one of them, I'm for sure, is going to ruffle your feathers. And so that's okay. If anything else, I'm going to be candid, upfront, and honest with you. And if you disagree with me, you don't like what I'm saying, you know where the button is. Okay. One thing that would be a red flag to me is English proficiency. She would be able to say proficiency better than I just did. They can really have a conversation with you. That is something that tells me that she has been around a lot of English-speaking people, primarily men. Could be that she's just well-educated. I could be way off base on this. I'm not saying this is 100%, but just overall, in all the time that I've lived here, and all these relationships that I've observed, English proficiency can sometimes, and I emphasize sometimes, be a bit of a red flag. The second red flag is drinking. If a woman is at the bar and she's slugging them down with you, one for one, and likes her beer or likes her cocktail and likes to get tuned up, I find that to be a major issue. First of all, alcohol generally leads to bad decisions. Bad decisions lead to bad results. And for me to be with somebody that drank all the time, not just at the bar, there's such things as weekend warriors. I know one gentleman that works his ass off 5 days a week online at home. Friday night, he goes out and he gets himself tuned up, and that's just his MO. That's one night a week, not every night. But these women are out, and they're out every night that they can be. They not only drink at the bar, but they drink at home. And personally, I think that that is a major warning shot that this woman is going to be making further bad decisions. The last one that nobody's going to like me for, because it's very unpopular, is tattoos. I just have a personal dislike for tattoos on men and on women. Let me just be clear. All three of my boys are tatted up. Okay, so I'm not casting stones here. It's just a personal thing with me that I find them unattractive. I think they're a bad decision. And if you want to turn the video off right now because I've hurt your feelings because you've got a sleeve, I get it. But here's why. When I see a tattoo on somebody, to me it just looks like a blue blob. The sleeve or one here or there, and it's big and whatnot. I don't even see a picture. If it was red and yellow and green and has some depth to it or something, then maybe I could get it. It's more arty. But just to have this blue ink, and I can never get anybody to stand still enough so I can read what the hell it says or what the theme of it is. And it's kind of weird if I do. If some guy's sitting next to me and I'm staring at his arm. So I never get to actually see what it is that they paid all that money for. And when I see it on females, I find it unattractive, especially those big thigh tattoos. I think women have these, out here especially, have these beautiful tanned legs, slender legs, just gorgeous. And then whack, there's this blue blob on there that just doesn't make any sense to me. I just think it scars them and marks them. And then there's the ones that are tatted all over. Again, it's just a personal thing. But I have found that the women that drink, the women that are tatted up, are generally not the type of woman that I personally would want to get involved with, especially in any kind of long-term or even short-term interim. I just don't think that there's anything good going to result from that. I have been around them. I've hung out with them. It's not like I cast them aside. I sit down and talk to them. I've known them for years, and I've watched it as they go through foreigner after foreigner after foreigner. Here come the tats. Here comes the drinking gets heavier, and now they're starting to age a little bit. Women that I knew 5 years ago, there's some of them that look 15 years older. I'm no prize, I know that, but they certainly were, and they were beautiful. And now, because their diet has changed, they've put on a few COVID pounds, I guess. They're just looking drawn, they're looking tired, and they just look like they've got a real high body count. There is, in fact, I haven't observed it, but I've heard about it, that a few of my friends have been going to a certain establishment, and they say that there's this, they've called them the pack of four. It's 4 women that are coming in, and they are really dressing the part. They're not dressing in some elegant dress or anything. They're dressing very, very scantily. Super, super shorts, super, no bra cut out, side things going on. And all the girlfriends that are with the guys are just waiting for the guy to go like this and look at them. The guys are like, every time these women walk in, we all get scared because we want to stare at them, but we know we can't. So anyway, I still have one last thing that I think is brilliant that I want to share with you, as I told you in the introduction. This is the most intelligent thing that I think I've ever heard. It's not particularly a new concept because other guys have used it before, but when I heard it, I thought, that is brilliant. If I wanted to meet a woman that was working at Robinson's or was not at a bar and was someone that hit my numbers, if you will, you know, someone that seems like a nice woman, just a nice, ordinary woman working a nice, ordinary job, and I wanted to meet her. But as what may come as a shock to you guys who've been watching my channel, I'm actually shy when it comes to that kind of interaction. I'm not one of those guys that can just walk up and say, hey baby, you know, what's going on? You want to hang out sometime? You want to do this? You want to do that? I really like you. What do you think about me? I can't do that. Never have done it. Never will do it. And just the way I am. If I see somebody at a counter or whatnot, I would get tongue-tied. I would be maybe fearful of rejection. But a guy came up with an idea, and I thought it was brilliant. And it has worked for him. And then another friend glommed onto it. He's actually a good friend of mine, but his thing is ladyboys. And so he does this with ladyboys only. And this is what they have done. They've had a simple business card made. It's got their name on it, and it's got their cell number. And there might be the lady that's working at Unitop, or the lady that's working at the coffee shop, or the lady that's working behind the counter at Robinson's, or there just might be 4 or 5 women standing around talking to each other someplace on the boulevard. This guy will go up to the one that catches his eye, and he will have his card, and what he will say to them is, or to her, is, hi. And he hands her the card, and instinctively she's going to take it. And he just says, you know what? I noticed you. You look like somebody that I would really like to get to know. That's my name. That's my number. If you'd like to hang out sometime, maybe you can send me a text. And boom, turns and walks away. So think about that for a second. Let's just say she's there with a circle of friends. That would be the worst case scenario for me because she's with other people. And he just comes up and hands his card and says, I find you attractive, or you look like somebody I would like to get to know better. That's my name. That's my number. If you're interested, maybe you'd like to shoot me a text sometime and you and I can hang out. And then bang, he's out of there. What has happened? The woman now has the business card. Here, it's my TV remote, okay? And on it is just his name and information. He didn't ask her on a date. He didn't ask her to commit. She didn't have to say yes. She didn't have to say no. She didn't even have to tell him her name. She's there with her girlfriends, and then the first thing they're going to want to do is they're all going to want to look at it and talk about it and yap about it. But what if she's married? What if she has a boyfriend? What if she doesn't like guys? What if she's just not plain interested? Well, the only pressure she's under is to take the card and throw it in the trash can. He's never going to hear from her, and it's no harm, no foul. But when a guy does that, I asked him, I said, how's that working out for you? And he says, have you seen my girlfriend? And this is 4 years ago, 5 years ago that he was doing this. I said, yeah, I saw your girlfriend. He goes, that's exactly how I met her. I was walking through Robinson's. I was walking in, she was walking out. I did just that, and we've been together she texted me that night, and we've been together ever since. My friend who likes the ladyboys said he handed out 5 cards, got 5 replies. So that's just my little nugget. If I was single and if I was looking, that would probably be the approach that I would take. It would take a lot of pressure off. I would not have to go to a bar and take chances with the proverbial bar girl. And it would be an opportunity to meet somebody that I know is employed, somebody that is normal looking, doesn't have a bunch of tats, and isn't drunk. All right, I'll see you in the next video.